Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
Hello, come on in. We are going live. I'm Jessica Mitchell, certified health and lifestyle coach. I am with my 15-year-old son, Dane, today.
Hello.
And so we are here and ready to get this conversation started. Welcome, Align and Shine. Welcome, Wrapped in Chic. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to just shoot this over really quick, share the room quickly, and we will get started. A conversation I have been excited to have. And so, yes, our peeps are here. We appreciate the support. And we've been excited about this update. So if you all know anyone that you think would benefit from this conversation, hello, Glam Tam. Hello, One with Ja Always. Thank you for being here. I know that this is going to be a conversation that will appeal to parents of small children and teens. But, we always aim to provide value. So, some of the things that we'll talk about, especially some of the psychological pieces that come along with trying to improve your health, the energy that is required to do that. That's something that really will pertain to adults and young people alike. So with that being said, we will go ahead and get right into this. And of course, if you all have any questions for me or for Dane along the way, please let us know. So the last time we spoke with everyone was July the 29th. So if you missed that live, it is on my feed. And we talked about how Dane has had this evolution of wanting to live a healthier lifestyle, and how a lot of the things that he's learned along the way, came back to him. He didn't forget some of the things that I've been talking to him about since he was a very, very little child. Never believed in putting kids on diets, and I still don't as a health coach. However, I want to set the example, and there were, certain suggestions, I'll call it that, versus expectations, that I had regarding health that I always tried to instill in him. So by the time we got to July of this year, 2022, was very resolved, and I'm just so proud of him. So this is an update, first of all, on what's happened since then. So Dane, how have things been for you? Let's start with the physical piece as far as your actual physical transformation, because we'll talk about the mental transformation too, but the physical transformation, what has happened since July?
I remember in July, that live, it was probably a month into starting to get into a healthier lifestyle. Since then, I've seen changes. I think I've dropped in between 30 and 40 pounds since then. And for me, that was like a game changer, because that's like something like a great milestone to hit. And even in how I'm feeling, I'm feeling a lot more active, a lot more agile, how I felt like I should be feeling, because people will be like, you're a teenager, you should have energy. Sometimes before I just didn't feel like I had a lot of energy, and now I'm a lot more active. I'm doing things more, just trying to find different things to do in the day, even if it's not going downstairs to our home gym, even if it's just 5 push-ups every 10 minutes or something like that. I'm finding out that I'm a lot more active and trying to find things to do, and trying to center my life around a healthier lifestyle.
And center is right, because we'll talk a little bit about balance before this is over, because we do have conversations about making sure that you stay balanced, because there are certain regimens that you can adopt that, if it's not realistic, may only last a few months. And of course, we're in this for a lifetime. Now, Dane was being real modest when he says somewhere between 30, 40 pounds. Do you know exactly how much?
I know exactly. It was, so at the time of that live, it was about 175. So in a month in, I probably lost about 5 to 10. And then after that, it was probably around 30 more. So 175. Let me see if I'm doing this math correctly, because I know right now I'm somewhere in between 140 and 145. So yeah, it was somewhere around around that.
Yeah, it was. And I'm here to say that's for real. I want to welcome those who have come into the room. Game Changers with Fabian Lyon. Thank you so much for being here. A Lion and Shine Now says, I couldn't wait for this. Hey, family. Our family is reaching out to us, Dane. Hey, R. Holderbomb. Thank you for jumping in. Maru Middleton, Run to Be Light joined. Hello, I am Katina Morrison, thank you so much for being here, family. Yes, he has lost between 30 and 40 pounds. Water's Edge Essential Oils, thank you so much for coming. Yes, and Katina says even if it's 10 squats, that can make a difference. So that's why I wanted you to go ahead and just share what your success has been, because that is astronomical. And look, they can see the difference from our last live.
Thank you.
Let me tell you about how mom and dad's wallets can see the difference too. Because first of all, things started opening up for us more activities, going into the spring. So I purchased new clothes, new suits, new dress shirts, new jeans, new this, new that. And by the time school started, which was the end of July or the very beginning of August, I already had to buy some new things right after that live we did. And now I've had to get him an entire new wardrobe, which y'all know, I'm not cheap or anything, y'all. But when you have a child that's growing, that's hard to do. So he's gone from a 38 to between a 32 and 34 waist. So that's huge. I was like, just wear the clothes anyway. And then he came to me about 2 weeks ago and said, how can I wear this, Mom? I mean, those, he's got almost a 32 waist, and everything that I bought at the time was a 38. So that addresses some of the physical changes that have been made. Let's talk a little bit about, what happened in the kitchen. Because the thing about weight loss and any health journey that you're on, it really truly does start in the kitchen. We always say you cannot outrun a bad diet. So we'll talk more about the balance with the exercise, because I wanted to make sure that Dane understood you couldn't just eat your way to, or exercise your way to this, because you've got to learn good eating habits. So tell me some of the things you decided to incorporate into your eating program and some of the things you decided to eliminate.
No, let me start off with some of the things I started to eliminate. I remember my pediatrician, since we talked about it a lot in the last live, and he was always really good about being in a kind manner and trying to steer me on the right way versus like do this, do that. So it was never a problem talking to him about this. And he said, one thing I remember that he said to be mindful of what you eat, like the proportions that you'll eat. So to start off in the journey, because you can't just go like cold turkey, just cut off everything right then and there. I mean, you could, but it wouldn't be easy. It's not easy at all, but that would probably be a harder way to try to attain a healthier lifestyle. So what I was able to do was, even the snacks that I still like, to just find proportions in them and look at the serving sizes, look at the calories on the back, look at the nutrition labels. And things like that, slowly, little by little, I was able to balance that out a little bit. And then eventually, some stuff I was like, I don't need this. Like, I remember during the pandemic, it would be like 6-7 hours sitting at a computer on school per day. And then I'd make some like 2 burgers, 3 bowls of mac and cheese, things of that nature. And that, I mean, for me, I mean, during the pandemic, it was really a tough time. So cutting some of that stuff out that I just didn't need and replacing it, which is kind of what I've started incorporating. Instead of all that mac and cheese and the burgers, I've tried to find more protein in my meals and trying to cut out the sugar, as many sugars and carbs and calories that are empty that I can. And instead of candy and sweets and things like that, I've started getting fruit. And the more I eat fruit and vegetables, the more sweet they become, and the more enjoyable eating fruits and vegetables. So now I'm into oranges, blueberries, strawberries, bananas. But on the flip side, on the other side, it was all candy and all these sweets that really cost money and were empty calories. So So finding better alternatives to those definitely helped me in that way.
Yes, yes. Okay. And thank you for sharing that, Dane. I want to speak to everyone who has joined us. Thank you all so much for being here. And of course, your Auntie Katina says, amazing progress, nephew, because she can tell the difference. Hey, Jacqueline's Love for Health. Thank you for coming in here. Piece by Piece Creation. So good to see you. You see how big this boy is getting, right? And everyone is congratulating you. Jackie says you're dropping a whole master class. Because y'all, did you hear him say empty calories? I'm like, what do you know about empty calories? But what he knows is what we have talked about for years when we talk about empty calories. Elevate with Vern has joined. Thank you so much for being here. And Richie Rich, thank you for jumping in. We're doing part 2 of what we started in July. Of this edition of living a healthy lifestyle, but teens and kids, because there certainly is a way to incorporate a healthy lifestyle when you have children. They are not necessarily, well, no, not necessarily. They are not just short adults. So there are certain nutritional needs that they have, and we've got to meet those while still trying to teach them a healthy lifestyle. So I'm really proud of Dane for that. So what's so interesting is we've always talked about how sometimes eating healthy can cost more, and that is true. But you know, we all make places in our budget for things that are most important, because now that we've gone from, you know, him begging and begging and me giving in to the Pop-Tarts and the Oreo cookies and the this and the that and the that and the this. Since he grocery shops with me, he is my helper. We've been doing that for about a year now, where we go together. What the choices that he's making, I can't even tempt him when I see something on sale, you know, to say, you know, because you used to really like that, and he's just like, nah, that's okay.
Yeah, and I even noticed going to the store, he used to be like, hey mom, can I get this? And that was it. He was like, yes or no, that was it. And my mom would like either give me a reason, you know, like why I shouldn't, and I usually wouldn't listen or wouldn't want to listen. And if she said yes, you know, that's the end of it. Like, yes, I actually got it. But now, even so, like, even when we went to the store a couple weeks ago, I haven't had Oreos in forever. And, you know, I thought about it, and I was like, can we get these Oreos? And the price was like,
they were not on sale.
It was not a great price for it. But my mom was gonna give in if I had you know, sacrificed something else that I wanted. But then I looked on the back at the calories, and I'm like, is it really worth it? You know, the price isn't that good, and then you know, so I ended up not getting them and getting some fruit, something else instead. Which
do you remember what was it? Because I was horrified myself, because I love some Oreo cookies, y'all, and I believe that it is okay to have all things in moderation. But I was blown away.
$3.79 for a little pack of Oreos.
No, the calories for how many?
Per 3 cookies, it was over 400 per 3 cookies.
Per 3 cookies.
Yeah, about 400.
Yeah, that's a lot. When you start breaking that down per cookie, that is a lot.
And then there's only so many, you know, you could even eat in a serving. So I mean, after that, 3 in a serving. Then when it's that little amount of small little items, cookies, you know, in a serving, then you have to, you know, be a little bit more cautious.
And as Align and Shine now says, illness is way more expensive than healthy choices. Yes, that is just so true. Thank you, Francis Summerlin, for joining. Love, try, and buy. Mrs. Keisha Ray, thank you for being here. We are picking up this conversation about the need to make good choices. As you all are saying, it's always worth good choices. Food prices will make you, that is so true. One with Ja always. So we've talked about kind of the physical things. We want to just take a minute and go to the mental shift. And of course, as I said in the caption, we want to wrap up this conversation talking about the importance of balance, knowing what motivates you. And that will include a conversation. So I really want you all to stay here for this. That's going to include some conversation about body shaming and teenagers, and what us parents kind of need to really, really be looking for as we try to support our children on a healthy lifestyle. But as far as the mental piece, Dane, you touched on it a little bit. Let's talk a little bit more about what the pandemic was like, because you did have to make a shift. So you can either go through your day, or you can even go through how we would go to the store and I would get talked in. So I'm speaking for him, right, y'all? Okay. We would go to the store and I would get talked into buying 2 boxes of Pop-Tarts because he would tell me he would ration them. Now, mind you, welcome, I am Nancy Jones. Mind you, I'm coming from an environment as a health coach where I feel like you don't put children on diets. You don't want to restrict them the way that some of us were. There's a certain way to do this. You know, I was raised, you eat all the food on your plate. I was raised, you better eat all your vegetables. Okay, so these are the things that can actually start to form unhealthy habits. Those are the things that contribute to diet culture. Because really, what's wrong with putting a little bit of cheese on broccoli to make it more appealing? What's wrong with that? Versus just torturing your children. Anyway, I digress. So that's why I want to make sure that we talk about the fact that I was trying not to be overly restrictive, and he would kind of push me to the limits and have me buy things in bulk because it was cheaper. He's doing the math for me, but then he would eat it all at once. Yeah. I mean, he's still confessing some stuff to me about what he was eating in his room, sneaking and eating, you know, even 2 years ago. So that's why, so that's kind of a little bit of the backdrop. So Dane, pick up there with what things were like and psychologically what you had to do. Because this was more than just, I stopped eating sweets or something like that.
Yeah, because that would be really simple. For me, it was a lot more complicated. And every day, school on Zoom, you know, it was new for everybody. In those 2 years, I didn't even get like over it by the time we started getting out more, and I was able to start doing things. Even by the time I started going downstairs to our home gym, I didn't get completely over things. But it would go from a school day, waking up at like 7:30, and getting on school, and when school happened around 11, lunch happened around 11:45. That's when everything broke loose. I go into the kitchen, I decide, and I'm like, I mean, there are things here, so I'd probably end up making 2 burgers, because my mom, we'd have patties there, and that alone isn't as bad. Then when you start adding all the things, and when that becomes a habit every day,
and having two large burgers at a time,
or 2 bowls of like Cheetos mac and cheese, that was my favorite snack during the pandemic, and I viewed it as a snack, but I'd eat it every 2 days, and eventually, and the calories on the back says you should only eat like half a serving per day. So I mean, like eating 2 of those per every 2 days, that really started messing with me too, because I mean, it's good, and that's the sad thing about it. Like all food that tastes good isn't necessarily good for you. So and that was my thing, especially being at a computer all day, not getting any exercise, or very little. Because I remember the very beginning of the pandemic, we had our gym class, and they made you like do 10 jumping jacks in front of the camera and then sit down, and that was it. So I mean, that didn't really help too much. But I mean, it was just certain things that during the pandemic, some behaviors that that came upon me that I had to overcome. Because, I mean, the pandemic is not easy on anybody. And I know it messed me up like that. So.
Well, not messed up. We won't say that, but we'll say, you know, got you in a headspace where a lot of us were using food to soothe this new circumstance. And, you know, even if it wasn't to soothe, it was sometimes even out of boredom. Because, you know, everything just changed so much during the pandemic, as you all know, and it affected us all in different ways. You are being thanked for being so open. Yes, and I appreciate it too, Dane. KBRE Take has joined us. Y'all know how I am with these Instagram names, so I'm sorry about that. But, you know, I'm glad you're here, Chris. So thanks for popping in. Okay, so that's some of the things you were dealing with then. Now, as we talk about how things are now, I want to start transitioning into the part of the conversation about balance. Because when Dane made this decision, first of all, we will talk about when it needs to be for the right reasons, whether you're a teenager or an adult. It needs to be for the right reasons. You have to be very clear on your why for this to be sustainable. Okay, so I'm sorry if I'm jumping all over the place, got all these thoughts in my head, but as far as the balance, so there was a point when around the time we did that first live in July where Dane was like downstairs exercising every day, sometimes twice a day. And what did mommy tell you then?
You're like, that's not the most healthy, or the best thing to do. Just be down there every day for multiple hours, because I mean, a lot of building of like muscles and burning of fat and things like of that nature happen during rest. So like rest, sleep, rest days are very necessary. So I mean, every day, all day might not be the best thing. So.
Yeah, so it was for a few different reasons. Certainly not that exercise is bad, not that at all, but because school had not started yet, because now we were over summer break and Dane was going to be going inside the building. I think we talked about that on that live. And so now with homework and a schedule totally different than the past 2 years, is that sustainable? So that was one thing. And then the other thing was the point that he made about resting in between. And as a young person, he needs all the sleep and rest he can get to grow. They need more, if much. They need more than we do as adults. And so that was my thing. And I don't think he'll mind me saying, but then when school started, I mean, it was a huge transition having been virtual for 2 years. So what happened with your exercise routine the first couple of weeks of school?
I kind of fell off for a little bit, but that's like what I was talking about earlier, kind of cold turkey. You like doing everything one week, and then the next week something happens, and then you're not able to do anything. Mm-hmm. So I mean, thankfully, during school, one of my classes is like a PE class. We do team sports, so we're semi-active for as much as you can in like a school building without it being hard football or hard basketball or like weight training or things like that. But when it came to at home and like my routine that I had to readjust, and it took a little longer than the first couple weeks of school to find a schedule that was better for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. And you did. And so we've got, I don't know what happened to our light right there, but we've got some folks that had to jump off. Love, try, and buy. I am _ Katina Morrison. We thank you all for being here and hope you can catch the end of this replay, because we got some stuff to talk about at the end of this replay. So thank you all for being here. Rest to heal and rebuild, one which I always says sustainability. Yes, it's got to be sustainable. So now I think Dane would agree that he's taking a more measured approach to it, to his health journey. We talk about it every day. We talk about balance when it comes to what he's eating, because the extreme of overeating or eating junk food is to eat nothing. And we certainly want to do that, because as I shared with him, that's how I lost weight when I was his age in high school, was going on the chocolate chip cookie diet. Y'all may have heard me talk about it. And I didn't eat anything else the rest of the day. So of course I lost weight, but that is not a healthy way to do it. And I've shared with him that even as a man, especially as a man, I don't want him to fall into those patterns and habits. So we got to eat. We've got to eat enough. We just make healthy choices as we're working to eat to sustain, the level of exercise that we're doing. As he mentioned, lots of protein. So he's very well aware of that, because he does still have a very regular exercise regimen, but just making sure that we're making good choices, along, that are supporting what we're trying to do. Now, as far as being clear on your why, we've had a lot of conversation. We were somewhat transparent about this even in the first live, about what should motivate you. It should be your health. Now, granted, I was overweight and I just really wanted to lose weight. I really wanted to lose weight for a lot of reasons. As you all know, part of it was because the doctor told me I needed to if I was going to ever get pregnant, because we were really having a hard time getting pregnant. So I did. So it was totally worth that. But even past that, now that he's here, what was going to be my motivation? And one thing that it should not be is because of what you perceive others think about you. I mean, so on so many levels, it just really it's a very emotional subject for me because adults and children can be bullies and can do fat shaming. This kind of ties in with the part of the discussion about what your why is. What is your why? Why are you here? Why are you wanting to improve your health? So Dane, first, tell me some comments that were made to you by some people that you thought were your friends. And I do say thought because while children can be cruel and they can say anything, and then adults, we can joke with each other, friends don't do that. And one thing I'm really trying to teach Dane is that if you do that to your friends, you're not being a friend, because friends don't do that. So what are some comments that were made to you?
I remember back, this was probably over a year ago. Some of what I thought my friends, I don't think they had any like horrible intention other just to be like teasing and just like, in an argument that just comes up like it's something about weight or something like that. But I like go through getting called like one name I remember, they said like Mr. Fat Fingers, and it wasn't just to me, but like I heard you hear other people say that to other people. So I mean it's like it's not just something you go through, but then they're like, you got a fat face, or like and like proportion wise, like you're not like proportional to like your bottom half isn't proportional to your top half, and things like that. You'll hear stuff like that, but then when stuff like that is said to you, then then it'll really make you think and feel different about yourself, and that's something that I went through, and even looking back, sometimes I have a distorted view of what used to be, like how I used to look. I feel like I might be I might be able to see some things that I didn't see before, and I might feel I'm thankful for the journey and thankful that I'm here now, but I used to feel like there was something wrong with how I looked back then, even looking back, and even before the journey there wasn't like anything wrong. So I mean, just that view that others can like slowly put you in, whether they're talking about you and making you want to change stuff about yourself, or whether it's talking about other people and you start viewing them differently because of what they're saying. I mean, just this world, what's going on with all the cancel culture and the toxicity, even on social media, it's inescapable. So I mean, there's certain things that you just can't let affect you like that.
Mm-hmm. You said a mouthful there, son. What some of the folks here are saying is, let's see, Piece by Piece Creation says, yes, a routine is key, and she thanks you for your input. Welcome, Little Main Street Dreams. Glad you could join. Align and Shine Now says, even if motivation isn't quite right, your why can change as your mindset starts to change. Actually, that's exactly right, because in some cases, if it's about your health, you just need to get started right away. We don't need you to get to a place of integrity about your why. You need to get started right away, especially if your health is at stake. We also have one with Ja Always, who says bullying and fat body shaming has gotten critical and hard to deal with. Absolutely. Okay, because let me tell you, Jacqueline, he's telling me some of this stuff more recently, and it's stuff that happened back in the day. And y'all know I start pulling my earrings off, especially for this one right here. And it was very, very, very upsetting, because those can sound like innocent comments, but what it can do to how a person views themselves. And I know my sisters are all on here, my inflamed sisters, and I appreciate you being here. We have had these conversations ourselves as women, as females, when someone else tries to make you feel less than, even if they don't have it. Because Dane, he was really nice about it. He said he doesn't think that it was necessarily always just a terrible intention. Some of it's teasing, but we've got to understand the effects of teasing.
And that was another thing, because one time it like they were like going off, and it wasn't just like on me, because it was like a group of boys, so it was like back and forth, And then whenever it did get to me, I'm like, some of those comments go past like teasing between friends, like, hey, shut up, like things like that. And then it gets past that. And I had said something to them about that. And they were like, I mean, if you want us to stop, we can, but we were just joking, really. And then that's a lot of things like today, like kids or adults, when they say certain things, they think they're funny saying it. But then whoever they're talking about might not think it's that. It might not be a joke to them. It could actually hurt them. So I feel fortunate to be one of the ones who was sort of nonchalant at the moment, and then when I did realize, sort of what they were saying, I'm in a different place now. But I mean, some people, I mean, it's very tough to deal with. It's very tough to hear, especially when they're talking about you.
Okay, true. And you said nonchalant at the moment. I'm going to get back to that in just a second. Wrapped in Chic says that's right. Love your example. Love your mindset. Amazing example. We also have KBRE Take. Got a new meeting. You'll catch the replay. I'm so glad you could make it, Chris. Align and shine. I'm going to get some Vaseline, because us Inflamed Sisters, we will roll up for each other. Look, Stesh is coming up here too. I'm ready. Let me know when to pull up. Yes, y'all, we will pull up. Because I'm going to tell you, there have been a few things that he's told me that have even been said at school. Do I need to come up in there? But here's the thing. He says he's glad that he was nonchalant about it. But the reality is, and I hope that he does not mind me sharing that, the reality is it did affect him. He did take it to heart. Welcome, Mellow Vitamins. Thank you so much for being here. My son and I have had conversations. They've morphed over the past few months, especially with his weight loss and just getting really healthy. But even before, when he felt he was full, I'll just use that word, it was like, but you're still a kid. You're still growing. Some of this is baby fat. Quit worrying about it. Don't be obsessed. Because of our family's history, on both sides for him, I really needed him to be concerned about his health now. I didn't want it to be where you get 25 like I was and the doctor says you have this extremely high cholesterol and now what? You've had it all this time. So that was always what my motive was. But when you hear your child saying negative things about themselves, when you're doing everything that you can to instill confidence in them, there's a difference between confidence and cockiness. And, I even went through a phase as a mom where, certain things that Dane would do, I wouldn't always give commendation because you don't want it to go to his head. Well, I was corrected on that, believe me, by plenty of my friends. I mean, corrected, spanked, smacked. And so I obviously now see the importance. So I was, I'm glad, and I know he is, that he had me to reinforce things and say, Dane, you look fine. I had to get to the point, if you say one more thing about your full cheeks, because I miss his full cheeks, y'all. I mean, his little chubby cheeks, I miss them right now. But he looked at that as a deficiency or something that was wrong. And so on this journey, we all have to still deal with the mindset, some of which can come, as I said earlier, from when we're young, the environment that we're raised in, or who we associate with, those people around us that are telling us that we are not okay the way we are. And that's not why we go on a health journey, because then that doesn't stick either. All that does is foster very destructive eating behaviors and extreme exercise, which is why I wanted to talk, about balance, finding things that are sustainable and realistic that are going to support your health goals. Here's one other thing, though, I want to say about school. So he says that in this day and age in public school, and so far this has actually really been a good school year. He's in high school, he's in the 10th grade, and he's actually loving school. He tries to act like he doesn't, but he is loving school. But he's also in a different headspace too. There have been comments made, and just give us an idea of what is said to or about children, whether they are tall or short, that are viewed by others to be, and we're going to use the word fluffy for this part of the conversation. What is said in school?
I mean, it doesn't matter, like, what you are, like, who you are, how tall you are, how short you are, like, whatever you look like, they're going to find something to say about you. And, I mean, like, some people it might be easier for some kids to say something because, I mean, they might know or see some certain things that others don't know about. And then when that comes to other people's attention, then the other kids will start chiming in too. But I mean, whatever, whether you have extra fat in the chest area, whether you have a fuller face, whether you do have some maybe chubby fingers, whatever it is, even if it's some things that have nothing to do with your body, maybe it's your glasses or your hair or something. You have big feet. I mean, they'll find something, and it's really disappointing, but they'll find something and just stick on that. Like, if there's nothing else for them to look at you or say something to you about, but you have one tiny pimple on your cheek and you're the most handsome person or most beautiful person ever, they're gonna find that and talk about that for the whole school year. So I mean
which is, I mean, that's children for you.
Yes.
And I think we all know how that is, because there are some adults that are that way. So I think we all had been talked about before, and I'm not quick to put everything that children say in the category of bullying. But when it comes to body shaming and fat shaming, that's the one that seems to stick the most. I mean, I can remember people talking about my kinky hair in high school. And so since my dad didn't believe in getting relaxers for children, I did my own relaxer when I was 13. And I did my relaxers all those years up until 10 years ago when I went natural. So guess what? Didn't nobody say I had kinky hair anymore. Of course, I embrace my kinky hair now, but back then that was something I could change relatively easily. And then you know that sometimes when people talk, they're talking because they're jealous, and I tell Dane that too. But that body shaming over weight is just out of control. And the one thing I shared with him and wanted to remind him of is that when a person is saying that, they could have a mother, and many times they do have a mother or a father at home who is fluffy too. But yet you come to school and you talk about somebody's cheeks being fat, or them having fat fingers, or, you know, all this other stuff, you know, this fat around the chest for boys. We know from an anatomical standpoint that most boys will lose that. That is just part of going into puberty and coming out of puberty. Why is it that kids are talking about that hurting my child's feelings? Okay, so anyway, that's why we really wanted to talk about the why. We don't want our motivation to be just because someone says that you're less than. Your why, your real motivation should be to be healthy, to get as healthy as you can. And so when that is the focus, Dane, what have you found to be the benefit of that? The benefit of doing this for the right reasons and also being balanced.
I mean, when you do half of it right, the other half will reconcile itself, and you'll see the changes. So like if I was eating just broccoli for just broccoli, chicken, and rice for a month straight for some health reason, then you could definitely see that the other half, like physically, and you know everything else would come into play as well. So I mean, that's just an example. I'm not gonna do that. Nobody really had, but when you do things for the right reason and you start a health journey, not with the goal of necessarily looking a certain way, because you might not know how you're gonna look. I mean, but when you do it for the right reason, for your health, you can expect to see some results physically too that you'll enjoy seeing, and that'll help you keep going too. Because that's a big thing for me too. Just seeing where I was, of course, the journey and everything, but I mean, whether it was for my how I looked or anything, just seeing the progress helps me keep going for my health, not from how I look, but just I've seen how I look, and I've seen how I feel, how it makes me feel. So I want to keep this going. So I mean, that's always a good motivator as well.
Yes, progress does mean something. I mean, if you're working hard, we definitely want to see the fruits of our labor. Let me address a couple of these comments before we wrap up. Aside from all our girls coming to get who was talking about our nephew. You're their nephew, my son. Yes, but that ain't funny. That's what Align and Shine Now says. You're right. It's not funny. Joking at the expense of others is not funny, for real. That's what One With Y'all Always Wrapped in Chic says. Ridiculers and their ridicule have gone from bad to worse, from youth up. Yes, children can be very cruel. But you know, what we do know about bullies is that there's some insecurity. And that's one thing I've talked a lot about with Dane. There is some insecurity. We know how extreme bullying can become, and things can become very violent. But by and large, a lot of these bullies, these just really mean kids, there's something they don't like about themselves. So we don't internalize that, because some of us have been through some situations as adults where we really were bullied. Maybe even our partner has said things about how we look or our personality that has made us feel very insecure. But one thing we know, when people do that, they're projecting, it's their insecurity. And it can be the same with children. That doesn't minimize it, though. And really, the important education I think we all need to have with our kids about what healthy looks like. Because healthy isn't just about fat or skinny necessarily. And if on our end we do that, then we won't have the child that is bullying someone else. And then what we are helping our children with is longevity, extending their own lives. We're teaching them things that we didn't know. We're having conversations about heart health that I didn't have with my parents. Even though my dad's first heart attack was when I was 12, it's not like we talked about heart health after that. Those are the conversations Dane and I have about the type of exercises that'll best support it, the type of foods, things like that, because of my sister's death from a major heart attack, because of what's run, as I said, on both sides of the family. Align and Shine Now says, listen, it's not about how you start, it's how you finish. One which I always says, you have more with you than against you, Dane. And Wrapped in Chic agrees. So that's what we wanted to talk about today. We wanted to bring the update. As if you go back and look at that live, you can see the difference in this boy's face, but I'm missing my cheeks, but that's okay because I still find them. I have to dig deep for them. But did he just roll his eyes at me? But anyway, I'm so proud of him. And I have when I used to always say that I had a built-in accountability partner. And for, off and on I did, over the years, I have posted with me and Dane out at the park, walking, working out together for years and years and years and years. But now that he is doing this on his own, I mean, man, this is like the best built-in accountability partner that one can have. As a matter of fact, I told him at this point now, not only does he have to learn how to help maintain my locks, but because he's going to just be here forever, he's now no longer allowed to move out on his own. He's going to just stay here with us forever because he's going to take care of my hair, and then he's also going to be my built-in accountability partner. Isn't that right, son? Yeah. Do we have any questions from anyone? I meant to ask that earlier before we wrap up. Just wanted to see if there were any questions anyone had for me or for Dane. And if not, we will get ready to wrap up. And then, of course, you can always drop questions in the comments, because I will post this and you can drop questions in the comments for us. Welcome MAZ0011A. Good to see you here. We are wrapping up this mother and son team here. Dane, do you have any last things to say before we close the live?
I mean, one thing that I figured out too late into this journey is it's not about how you look. I mean, everyone is different. So, I mean, whatever you look like, you shouldn't be pushing to try to look a certain way. Unless it comes with a health reason. So I mean, if you want to set a goal and reach it, that's always great. But if it's for the benefit that you think, like changing yourself because you need to, that might not be the healthiest thing. I mean, because everyone is different and perfect in their own way, whatever they look like. I mean, I used to think it was cliche to say that because I'm like, well, I mean, I thought if you were like really big, you'd have health issues. But if it's not for the health issues, then you shouldn't be, prioritizing that as something that needs to happen or that you need to do, unless you want to. It should be health based.
And the only I won't even say correction. I just want to say you use the word, you learned it too late. It's never too late. I mean, I appreciate why you said that about learning too late in your journey, the importance of why, but it's never too late. As Dana said earlier, align and shine now. You just get started, and then, you know, your why can become clear over time, but that is what will help it be sustainable. But if your health is at risk, you need to get started. The other thing, though, is even if your health is not at risk, this is how we prevent disease. So what better time than when they're this age, before they are at risk for diabetes, type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure. This is the time. So whether you are sick or not, now's the time to start your health journey. And I just want to encourage all parents and all of you who know young people, support them in trying to make healthy decisions, because it can mean their lives. And then we just continue to do our part in setting the example. If you saw my reel the other day about leadership, we really are leaders whether we think that or not, because those that we care about look to us and they watch what we do. So with that, we have a lot of thanks for the conversation. Proud of you, Dane.
Thank
R.
you.
Holderbaum says, he says, thank you. Melavitamin says, love this convo. Hey there, back at you all. Amazing conversation, amazing conversation. You all are rooting for Dane. We appreciate it. So
Thank
you
you.
all are now keeping both of us accountable. And that's what we love. We love the support. We love the community. So thanks again for spending your time with us. And until our next update, we wish you health and happiness. Have a wonderful Monday.
Bye.